In part 2, we're going to get the Lister Stablemate horse clippers back together. I'm Simon, and welcome to Oakside Saddlery. In part 1, I took the clippers apart, had a look at them. They was working, but they've got a fault. So the fault was this capacitor here, and we can see where it's just starting to expand, where it's getting hot. You can see it's got some of the grease stuff that they have inside starting to come out. Now, I've tried looking around. Unfortunately, they're now an obsolete part. I can't buy one anywhere at all. I can't find a replacement, nothing that's a similar size that would fit in the same gap. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to go back together as they are, and fingers crossed, they stay working for a bit longer, and then we can see whatever I can get for that if they actually go wrong. But it'd probably be cheaper to end up getting another set of clippers. So let's see if I can remember how to put them back together. Now, it's a couple of weeks since I had these apart. So I have got lots of bits. Old clippers tend to have a lot more pieces in them than the newer ones. These are, what are they, probably 80s, late 80s maybe, something like that. These were out. But yeah, they tend to have a lot more parts. So we've got 2 filters, so they're nice and clean now, so that you can see that you can actually see through these now rather than before where they was thick with hair. 2 of them. That's our back cover. This is a cable clamp. There's our circuit board and the outer part of our motor, inner part of the motor. Then we've got our 2 brushes, springs, and the caps that go over them. They tend to disappear if I'm not careful. These are a thrust washer and a little washer for the back of that bearing to hold it in place. That's a little anti-vibration seal that goes around the bearing, and this is for the forward one over there. We have a big O-ring that goes on the outer that sits inside the cover and the gearbox cover and the clipper head. They're all over there, so I'm not going to want them for a while. I'm not going to want that. And then we have our inner bodies and a load of screws. So we can see some differences. So these are self-tappers, so they're going to be our body screws. So they're going to go through and screw into these parts here. So they're easy. They look like they're possibly, I remember, they're probably going to be for that, which is a cable clamp. These are going to be for the front of there, so these are going to be the 2 that sit in there, so that's that one. They're the 2 that are going to sit inside here, and then I've got these 4, so 2 of them are going to be for this, holding them in. I'll figure out which ones they are because they look like they may have different threads on them, and the other 2 are for something else that I'm pretty certain I'll probably find when I get now to that point. Anyway, let's see how we get on. So assembling, first of all, this is the first part I'm going to need because all this motor and everything is all going to sit inside of there. So I can lose that bit. Don't need that bit for the time being. I don't need them for the time being. I'm going to need bits of that. I'm not going to need them. I'm not going to need that. So this is my first bit then. So motor itself, I've cleaned this up. A bit of a petrol soap dragged, wiped around there, cleans it off, does it nice. So everything gets cleaned up, and then I air blow it and it cleans all the muck out of it. So bearings themselves, and they both feel good, nothing loose. I can't see any damages to the wiring or anything like that. When you get these little burrs like this, it's nothing to do with like damage where it's knocked on it. What they've done is when they balance this to make sure it's perfectly balanced, they just shave little bits off, and that makes it all set up nicely. So let's get some oil on these. Nothing fancy, remember. Now, a little drop of oil. I want to see where it moves because that's where the oil's going to go through, and I'm just going to work it into it. And once it gets in, we're going to get our paper towel out, take up any excess. Same with this side, so it's a little bit closer this time. Just in there. Little drop. Work it into the bearing. Once it's in there, get that excess off. I don't want oil going everywhere it's not meant to be, so as long as it's in the right places, that is good. So that's our inner sorted. Outer part then, these have obviously got twisted around a little bit, so we'll have to figure out what they're going to do. This will sit inside there, and then that will sit in here, in, where are we? That way round. There we go. So where that thermo strip is, it's got to come out through that gap there. So that's where it's going to sit. But before we can put that in, we need to get some O-rings on here. So we've got one that sits halfway down there. Another one that sits halfway up this side. And they're going to sit just in here. And if we look, see in there's like a deeper channel. Them O-rings have got to sit in that bit there. So they sit in there, they seal it off a little bit, but also helps it in place, keeps the vibrations down. So it's going to sit here. Now this part here is going to sit flush, and I can see there's two little marks there. I don't know if you can see them on the video, but they're very faint. That's going to be where this pressure plate on here rests on it to hold it in place. So I know it was sitting that way round. Obviously it could turn and go everywhere else. So that's going to sit there. And I can just see there that's not quite lining up. There it goes. There it goes. Now what you need to make sure is that these wires have all sat in the gaps, because when you screw this in, there's going to be another piece that fits on there. So that wire makes to go down. And see that wire there that's just, I'm not sure if you can see that one, just sitting on top there. So if I was to clamp that back together with that wire there, it will damage that. So that wire there needs to just sit just inside there. Once we get that in, the circuit board can be clipped in place, so it's got a little ledge and it slides underneath and then drops down the back. That's all sitting in there nicely. That's in there. These are going to sit in there, and the other one sits line up just there as well. So we've got two of them. Again, make sure they're all out of the way, and then what I want to do is just give that a little turn and make sure nothing is caught up on it. So there's no wires, nothing caught up in here, because there's quite a bit in these ones, but that's turning nice. We have our thrust plates sitting in the back here, so they sit just one behind the other, and the idea is that's pushing against the back of this and stops it just moving up and down. So the way it goes is in that position there, and they slide just down in there. And then all that's done is stop it. So it's pressing on the back of the bearing, so it doesn't move or nothing like that. It's just pressing on the bearing. So we're good on that point then. Cable, now all I've got to do is remember what I did with the cable, because I put it somewhere safe. Right, got the cable then. So first thing for our pat test, it has got a 3 amp fuse. I've checked all the cable, there's no damage to that, so that's good for my pat test as well. I'm going to lose the other end because all I need is this piece here. Untangle that a little bit more. Is this side of it here. So these two wires go into there. Now if I've lost track of where they sit, because sometimes I always take pictures of it anyway, just so I know. So did it go that way or did it go this way around? So that which one's my live, which is my neutral? You've got a couple of options. One, this is still the same, so it's going to naturally sit like that anyway. But the other one is to look at where the marks are on the cable clamp. So one side has got 2 solid grooves and the other side's got 2 dots on it. So they will sit that way round, in which case it's definitely going to sit like that, isn't it? So it's just another way to sort of make your mind up of what it's doing. Now these go in here. Sometimes these can be a bit of a pain, because they don't want to let, when these have been screwed down, the spring is shut on them. So corny moments come up. There's one that's gone in, so the neutral wire is in. Take my screwdriver, tighten that down, so that's got that one. I haven't done it up massively tight yet, I'll just, as you can see, because it's just folding out, so I should have done it up massively tight. Unscrew it again. Let's have another go. Glue goes in. That's in there. I wonder why we stopped using flathead screwdrivers. Oh yeah, pain in the bum. So this time I will do it up a bit tighter to make sure it's got it. That's better. Circuit board back in place. And then we've got the live wire. I was going to sit in there, that one went in nice and easy. One up as well. Now I can tighten them up a little bit more. So these need to be pretty tight. What you don't want them is pulling out. So that's got them in there. You can see that's nice and caught in that. Circuit board back in place yet again. This sat here, didn't it? So the cable sheath needs to be on the inside, and then the other side of it is going to be the clamp. So that's that. Now I'm guessing that's these two screws here because they look the longest. So that goes into there. Line it up. Easier said than done. Line it up, which is there. I'll get a bigger screwdriver in a minute to do this. Well, that started going in. Let's take the other ones so we know we're right on these screws. That's got that one. Right, let's get a bigger screwdriver. Hopefully this one will fit. That's good. That's like the longest screws ever, so whether these are the right ones or not, another thing now, making me wonder. Although they do go through this, through the circuit board and into the plastic underneath. Well, not into the plastic, it's got some inserts in there. So quick check then before we start doing everything else. So this is our thermo fuse, this is the switch, it goes on there, our wiring and condensers underneath it. The wires are all clear, can't see any of them sticking up, so that looks good. Everything's in place for that. Let's have a look at the top section then. So the top part of this only does half of it, and we can see it's got the same fittings for it. And then that's our switch. So the switch is there. Goes all the way underneath. Oops. Disappears somewhere. Knock on my springs flying, which I'll lose if I'm not careful, so I'll have to find them again. That switch there, and it comes all the way back down. Presses in there. So that is going to sit on there. And what I want to do is just ease it into place, because I don't want it trapping anything. So if these lines haven't lined up down the edge there, it means it's caught a bit of wire, and I certainly don't want that. So 4 screws there. 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll have a 5th one, which would be the back of it there. Spring. Oh, we can drop that in. He says I need another screwdriver. And one in. That one in. Fourth one in. So let's tighten them up. So that's tight. That's tight. That's tight. This one. That's tight. So switch. There it is there. So it has a piece on it. It means it can switch on and off. It's quite clever because when you haven't got the plate on, it can't turn the clippers on by mistake. So even if you've left the power up and taken that off, it will still work. So now we've got that in. Can that turn? Yes, so that's good. This is all in place. That's all in place. Let's try and balance this up on here. Back cover them. Just going to sit on top of there. And this has got like a slot in there, so it can go in one place. That sits down in there. And again, make sure it goes in without catching anything. That's good. Last self-cutting screw. Self-tapping screw, whatever they call them. does it go. These ones are actually quite a decent screw because they're such a coarse thread on them. They just find it straight away. So that's the bulk of our clipper back together, and we can see now it clicks on and off. This is all good. We need to get our bits of our springs in, which I knocked nicely over here just now. So there's one bit, second bit, spring, spring, brush, brush. The brushes on these are pretty good, so there's no issues with these. The hardest part with this is actually getting them to go in there and thread in without springing out everywhere else, because the springs push it off and they are a bit lively. So one goes on there, sits on like that, and then what we get is the brush. Now if you look at the brush, can you see there's a curve to that edge? So this side here has got the curve on it, and that side there has got a flat on it. So that curve needs to be the side that's going to go in, because it'll line up with the bit inside. It's not the end of the day if you haven't got it, but that is going to sit down in there. Then our spring and our cover plate go on top, and then see where it wants to push out, and then I've got to keep a bit of pressure on it and then turn this at the same time. Once it turns and clips in, it'll stay in place. And all I'm going to do is get my screwdriver at an odd angle and put it in. There's probably a special tool that you can get for these. I've never seen one, but there probably is a special tool. Other side then, so there's my curve. Curve lines up, got inside, my spring goes onto that little knob on the end there. There, spotted that, and that sits in there. Bit of pressure on it, bit of a turn, it starts to go in, and then we can get it to there. So our clippers then, this isn't back together. They're quite safe now, because you can't get to any of the live components in it or nothing like that. So before I actually do anything else, I'm going to just make sure they still work, purely for the fact that condenser was messing about in there, wasn't it? And sometimes when you take them apart, they don't like it. So check on the cable. Cables are good. Plug it in. I'm not going to touch them, I'm going to switch it on. So now I know that part's working. Let's switch them off. I'd rather do it without touching them. If we look in here, you'll see bits of it. All good. So if you look just down inside there, you can see where they all start. Anyway, at least they work. So switch them back off, unplug them, because I certainly do not want them plugged in there. I'm pissing around with the rest of it. My filters, they're going to go over here. So the filters tend to sit that way round, so that the bits line up on them. They clip in place. They're sometimes a little bit tight, and sometimes one side of it better than the other. So if one don't go in, chop it to the next one and give it a go and see if that one goes in. So that one went in a lot easier. But before I do that, I want to see what that thread is on there. I've got a feeling it's that. Yeah. So now I know them ones, because what I don't want to do is get the wrong threads. That's the right one for that. That drops in there, and then I need yet another screwdriver. Again, old ones tend to have lots of different screws. New ones tend to just use one screw that does everything. And tighten that up. So if you've got these sort of type of clippers, there's no reason why you can't take that filter off without having to worry about it getting shocked or anything else. Just unplug it, undo that screw, pull your filter out, clean it, clean up the hair from inside there, and then get round and put it back together again. But make sure when you put these in, you don't mess the threads up, because I get a few like it. So if they don't go, just turn it the wrong way until you feel it click. Give it a turn. I'm having right all day today. That's in there. Don't over tighten it, just tight enough that it's not going to come undone. So that's our filters in place. So that motor is all good. Now let's have a look what we've got. So we have this sits around here, and it sits, if I remember, just behind where the air blower's out. So it draws air in, pumps it through the motor, keeps it cool, and it pumps it back out here, out through this, and over the blades to try and keep that all cool. Now, where have we got? So this is going to sit on top of here, and I've got 4 screws there, and that's where I think these are. So that's that, and that, Is that? Yeah. What are we? Flathead. So a nice little slotted screw. This is the top. This goes down the bottom, so it's going to sit that way round. So in actual fact, that rubber might be a little bit further forward. Yeah, put that a little bit nearer and then let it push it back in. Might actually be the other way round. No, it's definitely not. Now, if I look down in there, I can just see the screw holes down there just started to line up. So if I drop one in there now, he says, grief. Definitely the right screws, because they fitted in the other bit. They're just a bit tight in the plastic. If these ones are tight, the ones down there are going to be a right nightmare. So if all else fails, bit false. There. So now that's screwing into the plastic, so the little hole in there is obviously a little bit tight on that screw. Now I'm just going to check again. So all I'm doing is looking down through here at this part, because through there I can see the screw holes underneath. And if I line these two up, then these two must be lined up. And what it'll do is, if it's in the wrong place, it'll start pushing that off, which is what it's just started doing. That's it. There we go. So that's gone in. I'm not going to do this up tight because it might still need to move a little bit. That's that one. This one's probably just as tight as well. See why they change from slotted screws, because you can't really use, you can, but electric screwdrivers do not work very well on them because it throws it off of the head. It's bad enough with a normal one. Something like that would be ideal from electrics. And the other thing as well is a Phillips screw or a posi drive or a posi square. When you have them on them, they can hold the screws. You can put the screw on, poke it in. Now let's have a look at these ones. So they've got to sit right down inside here, and me and my little sausages are going to struggle for that. So I may have a little fun moment. Now I've done things before where I've put like bits of tube in the end, grease on the end of my screws to try and hold them in place. Sometimes they work. What I don't want to do is drop it and it ends up inside the clippers and I have to take things apart again. I could speed this bit up, couldn't I, if I was really clever? Alright, let's try something else. Oh, it will keep hold of it. Blimey, that took some doing. Right, we've got that in there. And again, the screw hole was a little bit too small, so I probably wouldn't have been able to push it through anyway. Right, it feels like it's gone through nice. Let's try the same with this one, see if we get as much luck. There we go. And that's that one in. That one don't want to go, that's gone tight. Better. See that pulling that case on there. Now, start tying them up then, so that's one's tight. That one's tight. I've got two here. That's still really loose. That one's gone tight. And that one's gone tight. Motor still turns. Everything there looks good. That rubber's all sealed up nicely. Now, the head itself. These sometimes have grease on, don't they? So with this, because the air flows here and it comes through, you can just sort of see it under the blades, it means hair will get in there. And if you put grease on it, the hair will get wrapped on the grease and end up around there, and it would just cause a bit more wear. But it's metal onto a nylon or fibre or whatever they are. You don't actually need it. So all I am going to do is drop a little bit of oil down the back of that. It says this doesn't want to come out. A little bit of oil in there, and all that's going to do is lubricate into that shaft bearing that's down there. Give that a turn. And I'm going to do the same at this side. So just down in there. So these are all the areas that you should be putting oil on when you're using them. There's another little drop there. So at the end of that, I'm going to give that a little turn. I'm going to give that a turn. So that's all nicely oiled. That's all free as well, isn't it? So that sits just in there. And then what we have is our last two screws, which is a bonus if I haven't got any left over. And again, as they like to have it, these ones are posi drives. Unlike the other thing else, it was all sorts of everything different. So again, they go into a nice bolt inset bolt into it, so or inset thread. So don't cross thread them. So that one's on. That's that. You know what? It's in the UK we have a bonfire night, don't we? Which is the 5th of November. I don't know if you can hear it. So it is actually just gone 10 o'clock. I don't know what way around that is, but that's just 10 o'clock in the morning, not 10 o'clock at night. Certainly won't be out at that time of night. I can hear fireworks going it. It's only the 1st of November, but yeah, it is the weekend before. But why do people set fireworks off during the day? It's bright sunshine out, even though it was raining just now. I don't know. Never mind. Anyway, I'll have a little moan. Blades then. I'm not sure what he wants to do with the blades. I think he was worried about if they don't work, there's no point having them sharpened. If they do work, then you probably want them sharpened, but we'll see about that. They are going to sit in here. So we have a couple of bits here that need oiling. So you can see the shiny patches. Now, if you clean this and wash it like some people do, what it does, see the bit of rust there? What it does is it gets a bit of rust on it if you don't dry them out properly. If you dry them out properly, oil there. If you dry them out properly, then they won't rust. But once you've used them, just squidge a little bit of oil over it. Right, squidge a bit of oil on it. So we want a little bit in there, a little bit in there. We're going to have a bit across that and a bit across that, because that is everywhere that blade, that top blade, is going to sit. So that piece there is going to sit on that, and that's where it'll slide. It'll also sit just in there, so a little drop just inside of that. So that's your blade, and then the cone here is going to sit on top of that, and you can see there again, shiny patches, shiny patches. So a little drop down there and a little drop down there, and that will be the lubrication for these. So that sits on top of that. Your tensioner sits through there. Put your finger on the back, turn it over, spring goes on, and your tensioner goes on, so it sits inside and just goes up. On these, they say on there, you tighten these all the way up, and then you back it off 1.5 turns, and that is it. But go by what you think it sounds like. If it sounds like it's labouring, loosen it up. If it's rattling, tighten it up. Just go for what you think. But that is a Lister Stablemate. So an old set of clippers. They're quite nice. All of this is all similar to a lot of the period. Even some of the new ones are still this sort of same sort of design. They often go now with 12 volt and 24 volt motors inside them, rather than 240 volt mains. And to be honest, battery powered ones are really good now, because there's no cord for the horses to tread on and things like that, is it? But if you've got these old set and they're still working, keep them working. Have them serviced if you need to, but so lots of the parts aren't available now, so it probably the big bits are, because they don't go off so much and people don't break them. But internal parts, it looks like I can't get the bits anymore. Anyway, hopefully that gave you a hint as to what the inside of your Lister Stablemate clippers might look like and how it might go on. So if you enjoyed the video, give it that thumbs up, hit the likes on there. That is a like, and a thumbs up and a like, yeah, whatever. Leave a comment below if you need to, and otherwise have a good day and goodbye.